Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Andrew, and today we're going to be going over our roof rack and storage systems in our 2003 Yukon XL. So if you're familiar with the channel, you'll know that this is the vehicle we use to go overlanding, dispersed camping, vehicular backpacking, whatever you want to call it. Before this, we had a much smaller rig that we were using to do all these same things, and that was a 2004 BMW X3. And in that little guy, space and storage was always a battle. In moving to a bigger vehicle, it can still be hard to break the habits of loading it up to the gills, even when you don't need to. We still have 2 kids in high school, along with a couple of dogs, and any of those may or may not come with us on any given trip. And when everyone is together like this last Thanksgiving, it can really lead to a packed house, even when you're doing everything right and being careful with your space. We use the inside of the vehicle to sleep in for Nicole and I, so roof storage is an absolute necessity. Our rack system is broken up into 2 parts. At the front, where we have a typical roof basket, this one is a generic one we got off of eBay, and it measures in at 64 by 39 by 6 inches. And then at the rear, we have a setup I made out of Super Strut. Now, there are a lot of Super Strut DIYs out here on YouTube, and my build's pretty typical of them, with the exception that I went with a larger 12 gauge Super Strut. They definitely don't look as low profile when you're done, but it allowed me more flexibility in how I can mount them on top of each other, in that I cut down a socket to be able to fit inside of the channels. So instead of only being able to have one of the nuts inside, I'm able to have a bolt go through the inside and still be able to tighten it down. Now, I was really tempted to do a completely flat setup, similar to Prinsu or Frontrunner, with aluminum extrusions, usually referred to as 80-20. And that's what I use in our bed platform. I just sourced it from T-nuts instead of 80-20. It was a pretty significant cost savings. But anyway, ultimately for the rack, I decided at this point the basket gives us a lot of flexibility. And while I could have done the rear section out of the extrusions, for such a relatively small section, the Super Strut just made a lot more financial sense. And what we put where is really very dependent on that particular trip, the length of it, if the kids or the dogs or all of them or some combination are going, whether or not there's rain in the forecast, etc., will depend on what we may or may not put up top. So we really don't have any set places where we put our gear every trip. With that being said, it's still always easy to figure out because there's plenty of room with this setup for flexibility. Probably one of the most handy things for having a basket like this is for a load of firewood. You just can't beat it for that. It allows you to safely and securely strap it down on top of the rig. Now, that rear Super Strut section is obviously a lot more fixed in its usage. On the back, we have 2 of these Pelican 15-20 cases. I got off of eBay, and a big thank you to Donald for making his video about these while the listings were still active on eBay. At the time, they were going for about 50 bucks each, and you just can't beat that for a genuine Pelican case. So inside these, I keep our Viair 88P compressor, our tire repair kit, snatch strap, tire deflators, various tie downs and ratchet straps, gloves, a hatchet, miscellaneous tools, and just all kinds of crap, really. And on around behind the Pelicans, we keep our traction boards. These are the cheap X-Bulls, and so far they've made great leveling pads at camp. I haven't had to actually use them for a recovery yet. Over here on the driver's side, we've got 2 2.5 gallon gas cans, and then in the empty space next to them, with a little modification to the Super Strut, I should be able to mount a 5-gallon propane tank, or a 5-pound propane tank there, and that'll be coming in the future, so I'm excited about that. Moving on to the inside here, we have the bed and drawer platform. I've made a couple of build and update videos about this guy specifically, so be sure to check those out. So inside the actual drawer is our camp kitchen. Not a real fancy setup, but it's effective. And by keeping it relatively simple, I was able to keep the whole platform relatively short for the sake of headroom, and that was important. Over here on the driver's side, instead of a drawer, is my stuff it hole. In here we got a couple of small folding tables, my maxi track chair, our heater buddy, a USB fan, and just all kinds of miscellaneous stuff. And my plan for right now is to just leave it as is, and I'm just going to make a door to cover the opening. Up here on the platform, pretty representative of most of our trips. We tend to bring one or two, usually just like this, a large and a small Plano, and that holds our food, dry goods, and snacks, that kind of thing. Cold food and drinks are still going in a cooler. I believe ours is a 64 quart. And here at the front of the platform is our folding closet module. It holds all our clothes, any small light personal miscellaneous items during a trip. And of course this folds, which allows us to use the second row seats for the kiddos. I do go into a little more detail on this portion of the platform in our second platform update video up on the channel. Alright guys, and we've moved inside because for rack and storage, that is pretty much it. Of course, up front there is a center console and some cubbies in the dash, but not really much to talk about, although they always come in handy during a trip. So overall, I like to think we came up with a pretty flexible, usable rack and storage system that ended up not costing a lot of money. There often seems to be such a focus on the trendy items and brands and things that people just seem to think that they have to have, that I was glad to be able to avoid some of that, come up with my own solutions, and put together something that really works for us. And that's really the most important thing. It really needs to work for your needs. So whatever that ends up looking like and ultimately costing, it really just needs to work for you. So at this point, I think I'm going to wrap up, get to editing some clips together for you guys, put this together. Hopefully I'll be coming out with some more regular content, little gear and system updates that we use. So hope to be putting those out on a regular basis going forward. So as always, we appreciate a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Leave us a comment. If you have any suggestions, comments, anything, just let us know. And we will see you guys again for the next adventure.